Stephaun Wallace with the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. And we're here to talk about intersections, and specifically the intersections of all of our lives with science and the myriad of ways that we are impacted by science and we engage in science. Stay tuned as I speak with a host of community leaders, advocates, and scientists as we dive deeper into their intersections. This is an opportunity to talk about the intersections of our identities, the intersections of science with who we are and how we show up in the world. So for those who may not know you, not that many people don't know who you are, but for those who do not know you, would you say your name, your affiliations, whichever you feel comfortable with?
Shannon Garcon, founder of the House of Garson. My pronouns are he, him, icon in ballroom, techie, foodie, and political junkie.
Got it. We have been connected for some time. The work in community, the work in ballroom in particular. What about ballroom excites you still?
Actually, what excites me about ballroom now is the younger generation and where they are in ballroom, their commitment to activism, their commitment to community, and their commitment to change. And right now it's just open, and to see what they're doing with their talent. When you watch Legendary or Pose and you see these people out there and people really giving them the credit that they deserve for what they're doing, that excites me.
You mentioned Legendary and Pose, and there are, of course, lots of other shows and documentaries that have been done about the community, but everyone may not know what we're talking about when we say the community. So if you could give a brief description or background about what the ball community is.
So in a nutshell, it's a safe space. It's a safe space for LGBTQ people of color, space that we made for ourselves. That, when I came out, there was no space for us. So we had to make a space. That space was there where we can be creative, we can be ourselves. The ballroom gave us a sense of guidance, right or wrong, but it was a sense of guidance that wasn't there. And that was in development. And I think that was the big thing about ballroom, a place where people of different backgrounds, that they can just be themselves, compete, because ballroom is a competition, in a safe space and be judged on their own criteria, not on the outside, but how we judge each other.
Family is what really connected me to ballroom early on, and thinking also about sort of the intersection of chosen families with the importance of community mobilization and really HIV work. Your house is one of the few houses that is really intentionally doing that work. What was the reason it was important for you to start this?
It was personal. In ballroom, we take a lot, just people of color, we take a lot from the community, and sometimes we don't always give back. And I watched in my journey that there were so many people that helped me become who I was. And it started that the catch was we just didn't want to do just HIV community stuff. You do it, there's so many people that do it, but there were other things that were going on. It's like we can do a whole bunch of resources, helping with transgender people with their identity and getting their driver's license, the psychiatric help they need, all that stuff, which we wound up doing, helping out for our members. I was like, there are a whole bunch of services that we need. Job, placement, how you find a career development, housing, all those things right there. And it just blossomed. And people want to do it, and you get it all the time. It's like, hey, I want to be a garçon because I want to do this, or how can I help that? And it's like, this is.
Doing the work in community and being a part of the community isn't always easy.
Yeah.
Particularly thinking about how so many social issues are internalized in our community, and then they get projected back, right, to us. How have you navigated that? And particularly thinking about your transition from Mugler to Garson, you've occupied leadership roles in each of these houses. You occupy a leadership role and a mentorship role for many people. How do you sort of navigate dealing with sort of the projection, or in our community, we call it the shade that exists in our community?
There's always shade. There's always shade. You cannot be gay without shade. Shade goes with it. We have thick skin. We've been through a lot. And I tell people, you learn to have thick skin first, of being people of color, men of color, Black men. You learn that first. You know, you growing up, you learn the obstacles in life, and that hardens you and make you stronger. Then being gay on top of that, even before coming to the house, you learn how to deal with that. The discrimination, think of it, the 80s, coming out in the 80s, 16 years old in 86, being gay, coming out there was so much attitude and discouragement, even from my own family. Like, my family kicked me out at 17. They were like, you can't be here, you're gay. And it just builds you up. Going from Mugler to Garson, there was shade. Ballroom does not like change. Ballroom does not like change. Ballroom, I always tell people, Ballroom has a finite group of resources. And you can only pull from existing houses. You can get some from outside, but there's very few that you don't have a big, it's not like you have a, what do you call, when they do the draft, you don't have a draft.
Right.
So you got to go find these people, and there are not a lot of people out there. So you wind up pulling from other houses, and that's where the shade comes. Because when a new house starts, every existing house has to look at their members like, is someone going to leave?
One thing that you would tell your younger self to do differently, to do the same, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, and I have said this to my younger self, you're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. The thing that I would have done differently, I would have listened, because I was hard-headed and I want to do things my way. And when people told me, hey, you should do this, one of the things that I regret that I didn't do was I always wanted to go to the Air Force. I wanted to be a pilot. Running a house and everything has been my partner. I am dedicated to it. And because of that dedication, it didn't leave room for anything else. So when I met people, they felt they were always second place to Ballroom or the house. And because of that, I missed out on a couple of possibly good partners because of that. And I regret that part.
COVID-19, as we were talking a moment ago, has been impacting us in lots of different ways. Mm-hmm. If you could share some of the ways that it's impacted you both professionally and personally.
Well, I caught COVID twice. One was at my job just before the pandemic, February. Caught it twice, didn't know what it was. I tell people this, when I caught it, I thought it was the flu. I went to the doctor and they said, oh, it's not the flu, rest. I'm a small frame person by nature. I went down to 130 pounds. And I thought I was gonna die. When I went back to work after filming 2 weeks later, feeling a little better, and right there, they actually escorted me back out the building because human resources said, you look like death. You have to go to the hospital. And you
they
can't
said
come
that.
back. Yeah. Then early this year, things calmed down. We'll come back to work, caught it again. We had an outbreak at work, caught it again. This time it was asymptomatic. One of the things that I still deal with now is the fear of when I go into large settings, I want to go out, went to an award show this weekend, want to go, you're happy to be there. And in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, is this a super spreader event?
How would you say that COVID impacted Ballroom?
The real answer? The real answer. The real answer is, it affected on a generational level. A lot of my old members like, we're not going. Some of them haven't still going to balls yet. The younger generation, the 20-something-year-olds, they didn't care. They wanted to go. COVID did not stop them. They were out there. I told my house, and I even made it public when COVID came out. And
I remember that.
It's like, we're not doing no balls until this is over. I can't still send my kids going out there because this is happening. And I don't think Ballroom really we didn't understand the magnitude. Well, I can't say we didn't understand the magnitude. How do you enforce that? You have one house that says older, but to a younger house. And how do you tell a promoter you can't throw a ball?
Right.
You can't. And balls, he say, we like going to balls, but balls is also, you're making money. You're throwing a ball, you want to throw a ball, but the idea of it is you're making money behind this. So you're trying to tell somebody, well, you can't make money. I got kids in my house that refuse to get vaccinated. Like, I don't believe in it. I'm not going to get vaccinated. We did things like we had a COVID fund. We gave out $9,000 during the height of COVID for medication, housing, rent, subsidies, and stuff like that to our members to help them get through COVID. But even with that, we try to do a thing where, like if you get vaccinated, we'll give you $25. And some people just like, nope, not going to do it. And you're like, okay, but here's the information.
Right.
If you need it right here. And then you learn you can't reach everybody.
One of the things that I've been wrestling with is how do we end HIV in terms of it being the pandemic before the pandemic, right? How do we ensure an AIDS-free generation? And how do we ensure that we reduce the numbers of people who are seroconverting to zero? What does that look like exactly?
HIV is a touchy subject. And I know for our community, that is the topic, I hate to say topic du jour, but that's our real rallying cry. But we have to look at HIV's change and how we look at it has changed. And when I talked to, I was at it was a forum, and I don't know if you were there, but it was a ballroom. I don't want to mention the organization, but it was a ballroom forum. It was incredible. It was a good one there. And they had some younger folks on the panel talk about HIV. And I will say, generationally, we deal with HIV differently. My generation, it's a very quiet personal matter. You don't go on and talk about it out loud, but the younger generation, they do talk about it. And for my generation, HIV was a death sentence. And so PrEP, which is, things we advocate, and I think that was one of the few things that kind of hurt the cause. Because now you give them to me, PrEP was the way of saying, you can still do what you're doing, just take this. Just take this, you'll be fine. And that's how these kids are looking at it. They're like, well, I'm not gonna die from this, I'll take my medicine, I'll be fine. For us, it wasn't that. It was, could be a death sentence if we didn't do this. I'm a long-term survivor. So I know, and people are like, well, you live long, I can do the same thing. That message go against, okay, we need to find a cure from it is kind of hard. And I think that is the challenge for young people because they don't look at it as a death sentence no more.
One of the goals of the HIV Vaccine Trials Network is, of course, a globally effective HIV vaccine. Mm-hmm. Do you see that happening in your lifetime?
A vaccination, for me, I think I will see it, but I'm not worried about it. I'm 51. I mean, to me, I've lived this long. I'm in great health. I'm undetectable, great, everything like that. If it came up, that'd be fine. But I think for the younger generation, that would be helpful.
What is one thing you're most proud about in terms of the House of Garson?
I'm proud of everything. I'm proud of them. Those are my kids. I'm proud of them. They tell me I'm getting older. I cry a lot when I see them because I see in each of them how they're trying to do the best version of themselves. Some of it's trying to make me happy, but it's still getting to the same goal. When I see Twiggy get an award, like she got an award for humanitarian award this past Sunday, and I'm sitting next to her mother, and we're both crying, saying, "Look at the baby." When I see Milan do a Sephora ad, and her talking to me, it's like, well, they don't really like gender fluid people, what I'm going to do, and then here you are up there. I become more proud of people for the accomplishment outside of ballroom than inside of ballroom. because we don't talk about it enough. We think, I grew up in the stigmatism where ballroom was just, those were the thieves, those were the prostitutes, those were the bottom of the bucket for LGBTQ. And that's not the case.
Right.
There's so many stories that people don't know, but they only see the bad ones. But there are many more good ones that people are doing good things in there.
I am very appreciative of you. You are one of the examples that I had coming into ballroom that showed me that there were so many different ways to show up in ballroom.
Yeah.
And that I didn't need to take a cookie cutter approach.
No.
And that my demonstration of leadership could look the way that I wanted it to look and not necessarily the way that other people thought it should.
Well, thank you. And that's what ballroom's about. Everybody, there's no cookie cutter way. I was telling one of my kids yesterday that I was the person in ballroom when I first started that everyone read that said you have to have a team behind it. And I was like, I never wanted to be the person. My leadership style was, I don't need to be the person that knows everything. I need to be the person who knows the people who knows how to do the stuff. So you come to me, yeah, hold on, I'll get the person for you. Because to sit there and think you know everything is a fallacy.
Right.
You don't know everything. But I know somebody who could do that. Let me get in touch with them and help you out. And I think that has been my key in how I approach leadership.
I know that because I've been watching you.
Oh, okay, then that's my playbook right there. That's my play. I say, I don't know everything, and I don't want to know everything.
Yeah. Thank you for watching this episode of Intersections. For more information on additional episodes, education, and the work of the HVTN, please follow us on all major social channels under @HelpEndHIV. Also, to learn more about being a volunteer for an HIV vaccine study, please visit helpendhiv.org. Thank you.